without further ado, welcome Sharon, and please.
Okay, thank you, Sharona. Welcome, everybody. This is my second time doing this. So for those of you who don't know me, I was not raised Sephardic, but I started coming to SBH when I was 15, and I got married when I was 18, so in 1972. So I've been part of the Sephardic community for a really long time. And I didn't know a thing before I started cooking when I first got married. So just start. And so I hope this helps somebody, helps a lot of you out there. So I'm going to do two things. So I'm making meat pastels, and there's several ways to make them. A lot of times people make them in cups. I'm going to make them in triangles that look like hamantaschen because they're a little bit easier for me. So I'm going to make the filling first, and then I'll make the dough, and then we'll put them together and put them in the oven. So I've already preheated my oven, and I preheated mine to 400 degrees. So I'm going to chop the onion, and I'm using a really large onion today. And you want to do a really small, fine chop if you can, because that way it's a little easier for the filling. So I kind of wanted just to show you how I do it. I'm sure most of you know how to chop an onion, but some people don't. So that's why I'm going to show you. Hopefully I won't have too many tears. So I just like to make several cuts this way. And then I go this way. And I'd say about a quarter inch. My son, the chef, is probably not agreeing with what I do. He's really a professional. He can go boom, boom, boom and not even look. Just the key thing is keep your fingers out of the way. And I should have probably turned on my stovetop, heat up the oil. I'm going to heat up a little bit of oil to cook down the onions. You don't have to get them brown. You just want them to be a little translucent and soften up a little bit. So let me go do that right now. I think I'm going to just put about a tablespoon of oil in. You don't need a lot because although my ground beef is pretty lean ground beef, and if you have like this one is from Trader Joe's, so it's 85/15, but most of the ground beef is like 80/20, and sometimes you get a lot more fat that comes out of it. And I'm not going to drain it because we need a little bit of moisture in the filling. Otherwise, it just gets too dry. So, oh, I'm starting to have watery eyes. Whew. I've heard of a lot of tricks to use so that you don't get teary-eyed when you cut onions, but I haven't found any that work for me. So just kind of go with it.
My personal trick, which isn't really a trick at all, is wearing contact lenses. Makes it much easier.
Oh, really? I don't wear contacts. I don't have any. I mean, I wear glasses, which should help a little bit, but
I try
I've never worn contacts. I mean, I started wearing glasses when the usual time in my 40s. most people start having to wear glasses, and so I never really got into the contact lenses, but that would be kind of nice for mask wearing, because I've had a hard time with all the masks so that they don't fog up my glasses.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go over to the stove. Maybe Sharon. So Sharon Adado's here, and she's gonna move the camera, hopefully. I'm gonna turn let me know if this is too loud. I'm gonna turn the fan on just a little. So my house doesn't smell like onions all the time. Okay. So I'm going to just add a little bit of salt in here too. It helps break down the onions. Oh, man. Sharona, let me know if anyone's cooking along and they have any questions in the, or if anyone has questions in the chat, because
Absolutely. But so far,
no questions. So far.
watching those onions.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to cook ahead too much ahead because I wanted to show kind of show the process and how I cut the onions and stuff, because every little, you know, I'm not an expert, but I've been doing it a long time. So the more you do it, the more you learn. And I have found that the smaller the dice, it really helps with the filling, because you don't use a lot of filling in the pastels. So it helps. Okay, they're starting to go now. So when I first got married, I had no kitchen experience. And so I had the original Ladies Auxiliary cookbook. And the recipe in there for pastels was the cups. And you make it in 2 pieces. You make the bottom piece and then the top piece. And that's what I did. And it took a really long time. And then I got this recipe from Auntie Ray, my husband's Auntie Ray Barrow, who just passed away this last year. But she taught a lot of us a lot of tricks, and she taught dilemmas also, taught me how to make dilemmas. But anyway, she gave me this recipe, which was a lot different than the one from the Ladies Auxiliary, and it was a lot easier to do. And so I also learned a lot just from going and baking with the ladies when we would bake for Bazaar. And that's really just been in the last 8 years since I've been retired that I've done that. So before that, I was just kind of winging it on my own. So I learned a lot of little tricks. And one of the tricks I learned is that Ellie Barron taught us to use measuring scoops to measure out the dough and the filling. And that's how everything became so uniform, because we were selling them and we wanted them to look nice. We were charging a lot of money for those pastels. And so I've started to do that also. And it really helps to make everything uniform and look the same. And that way you don't have one that's a lot bigger than the other one. Because, I mean, after a lot of years of doing it, you can kind of eyeball a lot. And I have learned to do that. But if you're first starting out, I think it helps to use a measuring scoop. So I'll show you the ones that I have. I don't even know if I've used it for meat pastels. I don't make meat pastels that much. I make dairy more than I do meat. But,
So when do you make them and serve them?
well, usually sometimes like for holiday, it'll be, I like it, used to make it for Sukkot a lot. It went well for eating outside and have it with the soup course. Or I would make it for Friday night, usually for a Shabbat. I mean, my kids, they would eat them anytime I made them. So my husband, we didn't eat meat for lunch on Shabbat, just for dinner on Friday night. So I would make them for a Friday night, but mostly for holiday, Rosh Hashanah or Sukkot. But or just any other special time, like a party or celebrating someone's birthday. Or when my kids were growing up, that was, they could tell me what they wanted for their birthday meal. And if they asked for meat pastel, that's what I would make. So usually I didn't make it like on a weeknight because I was working, and if I had a day off from work, that's what I would do. I would always make some and put them in the freezer. I mean, they are best when they're fresh, that's for sure. But they heat up really nicely. All right. Well,
I
we're
was
getting,
running a Zoom call recently for PJ Library, and they asked all the kids in the call, "What's your favorite food?" And Irene Green said, "Meat Pastellis." The other moderator said, I don't know, what is that?" And she said, "I don't know how you describe it other than the yummiest food in the whole wide world."
oh, that's so cute. Okay, I'm adding the meat now. I'll show you this nifty tool I use. Excuse me, take it out. This little meat chopper from Pampered Chef, Sherry Green. So that makes it, you want to really break up the meat. You don't want big chunks like the end. So I'm just gonna work this, and hopefully you can hear me over this sizzling.
I want you to know how good it smells, my dear.
I love the smell of fried onions, and this does smell good. Might just bring my son downstairs from upstairs. Whenever I was cooking, that's what my kids, their bedrooms were upstairs, and so they would come down saying, "Oh, what's that smell? What are you making?" Most of the time, they couldn't eat it right then either. They were very disappointed. Especially like on Fridays when I cook for Shabbat for dinner, and I'd have everything going and almost done by the time they come home from school, and then they come home ravenous, and especially David, he would just want to eat the whole pan. Okay, that's looking good. So you just want to get it brown, but it doesn't have to be totally brown and really cooked, because it's going to bake in the oven also at a high temperature. So, but you do want most of the pink on. Ooh, I'm getting a facial. Okay, that looks pretty darn good. Little tricky here. Turn the heat down. I'm pulling out my recipe card. I do know how to do this, but it's been a while. So I'm going to add, oh, I forgot to add a little bit more salt to the meat. I'm just gonna add a little bit more. I have to salt at every stage. Okay, now I'm gonna add some matzo meal. And I'm gonna add the pepper too, salt and pepper. It's really the only seasoning. Somehow it's delicious. When you have few ingredients, you really do need to season well.
So in the chat, Marlene just pointed out that a plant-based option for instead of ground beef might work.
Yep.
And I was wondering your thoughts on the things other than beef.
Yeah, so I have used impossible meat in a couple of times. And one thing I made was, I made like a magina, which was meat, and I used spinach and onions in mine. And I did impossible meat. In fact, I made it for you during Shipper Week. And it's a really good option. I think it cooks up very similar. And it is a very high fat content. So that would be, you wouldn't need to add any oil into the pan. So I'm going to add a little matzo meal here.
And when Kochava was getting the meat out for it, I said, well, you could make it half turkey and half beef, couldn't you? And she said, no, I don't think so. That's not what the recipe said.
Well, yes. So there are people who follow recipes to the T, and others who can experiment. And I am open for making changes however you want. I have never done it with turkey, especially if it's You know, there's a couple different varieties of ground turkey. There's some that's just all breast meat, and there's some that has dark meat. So I would use the one that has some dark meat in it instead of just breast meat, because breast meat is just really I think it's too dry for this. But if you mix it with the ground beef, I think it would be perfect. So go for it. I do recommend making it the original way before you experiment. Okay, so I added the matzo meal. I might need I don't think I need more. And then there's key here is to add the egg. And so with that, you have to cook it really fast, the egg. So I just beat the egg. And I'm just going to stir it up into the meat mixture. In my pan, I have electric heat, so it stays hot after I turn it off even. But this makes it nice and gives it some smoothness and works together. Now, got to add parsley. So people who know me know that I do not like parsley at all. It's kind of like the people who can't stand cilantro. Well, I love cilantro, but fresh parsley, just forget about it. So I don't ever keep it in my house because I never use it. So I do have some parsley flakes I'm going to use, and it will suffice. And it's just dried parsley, and it doesn't have that quite that pungent smell of fresh parsley, but it will give it some color, not too much parsley flavor. Okay, I'm going to take it off the heat because now we got to let this cool while I make the dough. Okay. Oops. Okay. I wonder if I should put that in the refrigerator. Yeah, you think so? Let me get a hot pad. I don't even know if I have room in my refrigerator. We'll see. I have to move some things around. That out.
I'm gonna go back over here.
So Marlene said in the chat that rice can also be used for a gluten-free option, and that she always used rice and some tomato in that.
Oh, you know, my sister-in-law, Jamie, her mom is Sephardic also, and she puts tomato sauce in her filling also. And I guess that's a common thing. I say go for whatever. I'm just showing you the recipe I have and I know. So, okay, so the key to this dough is to use ice water for your water. So I have some ice water going, and this recipe is slightly different than like for my Barreca dough recipe. I don't know why, but you do want a really soft dough, but you don't want it too oily and too soft. So I'm going to do a cup of oil and 3/4 of a cup of water. So I think last time I made it, I cut down the oil to 3/4 of a cup and 3/4 of a cup of water, but I'm going to go with the recipe this time. So there's a cup of oil. Let's go shy a little bit. And so to do the ice water, so I make my ice water in a separate container, and then I will pour out of here and measure 3/4 of a cup. I want to get one of those measuring cups that you can see the numbers on the inside, but they're plastic and I like glass. So, okay, there's that. And I need the salt again. I'm going to put at least a teaspoon of salt. Let's see it. Oh, there it is, right here. Some people put the salt in with the flour, but I usually put it in here and I stir it all around. But, I'm not. Oh, you know what? I forgot my wooden spoon. Yeah. Yeah, it's wait a second. Yeah, that's the one. Is that in the red? Yeah, the red container. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna start with 3.5 cups of flour. I can always add more flour if I need to. So when you measure flour, just scoop. And then you don't want to press on the flour, otherwise you end up with more flour than you need. It really makes it much heavier too. You see my canisters that I have for my flour? This is the last one remaining from Tupperware, lime green from 1972. That's 3.5. Okay. The thing about baking is a lot of it is just feel, and especially when you're making a dough like this, it really does depend on the atmosphere. If it's a wet day and there's moisture in the air, or if it's a sunny day and it's dry. So that's why you kind of have to just feel. Now this is pretty soft. I'm going to add just a touch more flour. In my recipe, they say to break it down into 34 balls, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to just do a few at a time. And what I'm hoping to do is to make a few and put them in the oven so you can see them, what they look like. And then while they're baking, I could make more, chop some more. Okay. Now, let me see if this scoop will work. This is a new scoop that I got, and I don't know if it's going to be too big or not. Okay, I cleaned my counter, so I'm just going to use my counter. So what I do is I take the ball and roll it in sesame seeds. And then you press down on the counter. And you really want it about 3 to 4 inches, like that. This is pretty soft. I guess I better get my,
Sharon,
yes.
if we don't have an ice cream scooper, can we just make it like a little meatball?
Yes, yeah, I'd say this is about 2 tablespoons worth.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay, and you don't use a lot of filling, just about a heaping teaspoon about. I'll try and put a little bit.
Again.
Say it again.
It's Sharon.
Oh, who's that? What's your name? Oh, it's Rena. Oh my gosh. Hi. Okay, so it's this is a little soft. You come up like this and like a triangle and make 2 scoop sides together. And then you bring up the 3rd side. And you just kind of use your hands to squeeze them together and make it look pretty like that. Okay, I'm going to show you. Let me fix it here. So with these, we don't even have to brush, so you don't have to brush them with egg and then dip them in sesame seed. That's what I like about this the system, and you get the sesame all around. Okay, so I have my baking sheet here with parchment. Yeah. So it's a little bit soft. I probably should have put a little bit more flour, but. So, no more questions about me, about cooking. Talk to myself here. I feel like the last time I did this, I talked all.
When did you put the sesame seeds on, Sharon?
I take the ball and then I roll it in the sesame seeds.
Okay, and then you unroll it and pat it down?
And then you press it down like I'm doing right now.
Okay.
Yeah. And some people use like a rolling pin, but I just use my hands. Okay. And then about, I guess about a tape. It's a little too much.
Can you explain again how you moved from a round shape to a triangular shape?
Yeah, I'll try and explain that a little better. I wish I was better at it. So let me just say, I'm not an expert. I don't know if any of you were on here the last time I did my class. Rabbi Hassan at the very end asked, he says, you know, my mom really wants to do something, but she likes meat. Do you know how to can you do like meat pastels? And I said, yeah, I can do meat pastels. I mean, I've made them before. And so here we are. I'm not really an expert, but this is what I do. So was that very clear how I pulled them up? If you've made a Hamantaschen, it's kind of the same way. You don't have to be too precise. So when we were making them for the ladies auxiliary to sell them, we were making them bigger. And then we would, on these points here, we would do the repulgo where we twist it to make it look really pretty. So when I was helping, I would get this far. Yeah, so someone just asked if you can make them like a cup shape. Yes, that is one of the options. You can definitely do cup. Oh, she wants me to make a cup? Well, I can try and do a cup one. Let's see.
Make them. We need you to make them for us.
That's what I guess. Okay. Beth Ann, only because I love you so much. Let me try this. It's been many years since I did a cup.
One more question.
All
What
right.
happens if the dough is too sticky and it's not folding into a triangle?
Yeah, so you might want to add a little bit of flour. Just let your dough rest a little bit. So I rushed mine. I would let it rest a little bit more. So when you're making the cup size, this is what I would use. I did. So this is probably a little bit big. So you just kind of make the dough like that and you put it in your hand and then you take the filling like that.
Did you roll sesame first before you made the cup?
I did. Usually they don't though. Usually they just do brush the top with egg and sesame on the top. But I did the cup with, oh, and now I got to make a little lid for it. You can see I haven't done this in a while. So you make two pieces, you make the cup and then you make the lid. And typically it's the same amount of dough, just in a different shape. Like the triangles, like when we were making them for Bazaar, the triangles had the same amount of dough and meat as the cups, even though they look like they didn't have the same. All right, so let me get this back here again. I don't even know if I'm doing this right, ladies, so. But you asked, so. This is why it helps to have a really nice soft dough because then it's a little bit pliable. My sister-in-law, Vicky, said that she uses like a muffin muffin tin to make a cup, which I think is a very smart idea. I think whatever helps you. What? Oh, down here. So.
Perfect.
All right, so it's kind of a small cup. Does that help you? So now I would brush the top with egg and sprinkle sesame seeds on there. All right, should I get those in the oven? Let's get those in the oven because they take sometimes 30 minutes, but probably won't take that long since there's so few of them.
While you get those into the oven, let's see if I can work out a screen share because Terry just sent me pictures of bizarre ones that SBH has made. So there we go. Did I successfully make a screen?
Oh, yeah.
So that is picture one. And
Those look pretty similar to mine. They're a little fuller. They're bigger and fuller. And they have a lot more sesame seeds. But
yeah. Also, Annette wrote, and I'll read this out, but I'm not sure how to answer it myself. I'm curious. A few times ago, someone made magina. Pastellicos. I grew up learning about matzah meat baked called pastel, not mina. I'm wondering where the names come from and if they are specific for where our ancestors came from.
wow, those are really good questions. And I wish I knew the answers to all of them, but I think that's exactly true. Because I mean, you know, some folks, you know, if you come from the Rhodes area, they have a little bit different words than those from the Turkish area and those from Greek. And I think the roots are all the same, but the terminology is a little bit different. But like Magina and Mina, we kind of talked about that when Terry was doing Magina, that Magina is kind of more like all mixed together, and the Mina is in the layers of the matzah with the meat and everything in between. So I don't think that answers anyone's question.
Follow-up question, which you might be able to answer more, is how this dough differs from boreka dough.
Yeah, so the only difference is that it is slightly more oily. It's a little bit softer than boreka dough. And I have done it both ways. I mean, I tried to do just the boreka dough, which my boreka dough is 1 cup oil, 1 cup water, and 4 cups flour, maybe 4 1/4 cups flour. So it's not that much different, but it does make a difference on how workable and pliable the dough is. I don't know. And I don't know if it has to do with the meat mixture, but you kind of need that extra moisture for the meat. I don't know. I don't like if the mixture, if sometimes the meat mixture, it gets too dry and it just tastes like your, you know, it doesn't have a good mouthfeel. Well, my son was really happy when he saw that I was doing this. He had to work today, so he asked that I save him some. It's also a good, you know, since I don't have grandchildren or dogs or anything, so it's a good way to get my kids to come home to visit me if I make some goodies for them.
You talked earlier about measuring out each portion so they're consistent, but
Yeah.
it's not because you can eyeball it well enough. If one were measuring them out, how much would be measured?
Yeah, so the dough is a 2 tablespoon measure. And then the meat, I don't have a measuring thing for the meat because I don't have one for meat. I'd say it's about close to a tablespoon of filling that I'm using.
All right, I'm going to try to screen share Terry's other picture because she sent both the cups and the triangles. So
Okay.
here are the cups from SBH Bazaar.
Yeah, aren't those fancy? Oh my God. Yeah, see, that's not me. And so, like I said, I offered to do this class because I do know how to make them, but I'm not an expert, and I don't sell my I don't sell my work. Oh, those are gorgeous. That's why we charge $4 each for them, or however much we charge. Terry, thank you for that. Oh man, I think they were about double the size of the ones I'm making. I'm not sure. They're bigger. I kind of like them smaller. So for those of you on Weight Watchers, I did this in the recipe builder, and they're 4 points each using this ground beef and this amount of flour. So
That's really helpful. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. If you use turkey, it would kind of cut down on it and make it not quite so rich. I think that's a really good idea to do part turkey and part meat and beef if you can.
I think the whole SBH cookbook should have how many points different things are, although maybe we would stop eating our delicious foods if we really.
We would not, yeah, we would not. So I haven't figured out points for everything, but for, well, you know, the things that I make, like a baraka, and my small barakas are 3 points. Maybe they're 4 points each too. I can't remember. They're a special treat. I think the healthiest of all of them is the spinach frittata cuajado. Wasn't that a great discussion about frittata and cuajado? Because man, that was like, well, we call it cuajado. Yeah, most people do. Sometimes I just say cuajado, that way people know more what it is.
Until I moved to Seattle, I had never heard cuajado because I wasn't part of the Ladino speaking community, whereas frittata is more
Yeah.
universal, maybe?
Frittata for sure, but it's frittata with a D. So it's not the same exactly as a frittata with like the egg dish. But it is eggy. I think that's the thing I make the most. Cheese buicos are my favorite Sephardic delicacy, I think.
And how many points
I
would
make
those?
half a batch. I can do a half a batch, and I can make them and bake them and have them ready to eat in less than an hour. They're just so easy. And they're so good, and they freeze so well. Can eat them breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I mean, it's a standard thing to take on the airplane for sure. I mean, nice.
How many points are they?
Yeah, so they're 2 points each the way I make mine. So I use a 1 tablespoon measure for my cheese buicos. So they're on the smaller side. They're 2 points each.
Beth Ann wants to know how long the Pastellis cook for at 400.
Yeah, so everyone is going to be different, but for my oven is 30 minutes. So what I like to do is I rotate the pan after halfway through, and usually I do 2 pans at a time, but for this purpose, I'm just doing the 1. So halfway through, what I would do is I would rotate them and move the shelf when moving back and forth. That way it gets even. So I would start looking. So this original recipe that I got from Auntie Ray says to bake at 425 for 15 to 20 minutes, but that just didn't work for my oven. They didn't come out. They needed longer, and then by then they were dry. So I found for my oven, when I make barakas, I usually cook them at bake them at 375. Not 400, but for these, they just need the higher temperature, I think just because of the oil. I'm not sure. I don't know all that scientific stuff. So there again, you know how people, when a recipe says, let's say, bake for 20 to 30 minutes, that means start checking at 20 minutes because your oven might be different than the next oven, and they're all different. So that's what I always do. And I've just done this enough that I know that it's 30 minutes. But like when I make cheese buicus, it's 20 minutes at 375, 30, 24, 20 minutes. And after 10 minutes, I flip them and rotate the pan. So the more you bake, the more you use your oven, the more you know. I can't see who all is on. Not too many people.
Not too many people live, but we have found that the number of watches that each of these videos get is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, so once he puts them up on Facebook or YouTube. I've had to do that because there were a couple times where I wasn't available to watch live. But I sure do enjoy these so much. And I've learned so much, and I'm an experienced baker, but I can always learn new tricks. Plus, it's just fun. I really miss being together in the kitchen with all the ladies and gentlemen.
I think it's amazing how many traditions of Auntie Ray's and everyone else's is being passed along because
I
of Zoom and
know.
YouTube. It's quite incredible.
Yeah, I just love it. I just think it's so great, and I want to be able to do that too. So that's why I love doing these, because like I said, I had no experience. My mother-in-law helped me a lot, but some of the aunties were really into it and really willing to share. It was great. But I learned a lot at the synagogue, just baking with everybody, learning all the tricks, the measuring scoops.
So Sharon Adado, not Babani, said that she makes hers bureka shape. So I think it's be funny to line up all of the different.
Yeah, that's nice and easy. That's a good way to do it. I think whatever is easiest for you, do it. These are just kind of cute and fun. And they're not much harder for me than a bureka shape. And I finally, yeah, I just can't do that Rapulgo stuff, so too much.
All right, Diana Bulapia says she puts it in a muffin tin, and what should she do with the top? So do you want to explain how the top of the cup could work?
Well, okay, so first of all, let me just say I've never done it before. So I would just take a piece of dough and flatten it out the size of the top of the muffin. And then you would press it together around the edge, around the seam, around the edge there. That's what I would do. I didn't ask Vicky. I assume that's how she does it. Vicky's on? Oh, good, Vicky. Did I answer correctly, Vicky?
Beth Ann and Kochava want to know what to do with the leftover meat.
You make another batch. No, I'm just, actually, this recipe does make this meat mixture can do a double batch. That's what I wrote on my notes. So you can do whatever you want with it. Make spaghetti sauce or macaroni. But I would just make another batch, and that way I would have them in the freezer. My dough is getting a little soft now from sitting. These are not getting us quite so pretty, but I think they'll still get eaten. Okay, the 15-minute mark just went off, so I'm going to go check on mine and see how they're doing in the oven. Oh, hands are nice and greasy. Oh, my cup is starting to come apart. I'm gonna move it to the bottom. So you see that I turned it around and put it on the other shelf. Okay. I don't know, it smells pretty darn good in here. Turn off this fan.
Before you put them in the oven, do you egg them?
I do not. I don't need to. The oil makes them nice and brown. If you were going to just do the sesames on the top of like the cups, then you need to egg it first, just the top. Need to add more sesame seeds. Was that Kohava asking?
Yes, that was Kohava asking.
Is she making cups? Or is she making?
I'm making triangles.
Okay. Are you having trouble making the shapes?
Not really, except for the dough's a little bit like, I don't know, sticky.
Yeah. Yeah, you can sprinkle a little bit more flour on there and just let it absorb in.
Okay. Yeah, but these ones are good because like it's an easier shape because I thought we were doing the cups and this look really difficult.
Yeah, that's why I do triangles, Kohava.
Do you want to show us how yours are looking, Co?
Okay, here are mine. Oh wait, oops, 1 second.
Oh, nice. You might want to secure them a little bit more so that they don't open up all the way.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I was a little bit worried about that.
Yeah, don't be afraid to pinch it closed. And that's the other beauty of this dough is it really glues to itself.
Is she gonna sell them when she's done?
She could. Are you going to sell them or are you guys going to eat them?
Eat them.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think Kohava should work on selling some of the things she makes. I really enjoy all of her masterpieces.
Very, very talented young family girls. So
Thank you.
I have to say, your shallot manot this year with the spinach quajado and the cheese buicos and everything. So impressive. I tell you, when I opened up that spinach, it was like looking at my spinach. It made me very happy. You guys are very good students.
We learned that from you completely. So it was your spinach.
Awesome. It's awesome. You guys did a great job. Yeah, it's so nice because when I was growing up, my mom was an amazing cook. And I was in the kitchen a lot watching, but I never got to be hands-on. So I think it's wonderful that they are hands-on. They do such a good job for such young ladies. Kohava, I assume.
Thank you.
So impressive, so impressive.
Thank you.
I learned to cook out of a Betty Crocker cookbook, if you want to tell the truth here. I had literally no experience, so I still have it. It's pretty worn in, but like how to make a roast, how to roast chicken. I mean, my husband, he was a great cook. He knew how to cook a lot more better than me. But anyway, 50 years later, I know how to cook.
Auntie Sharon, it's Lillian. Hi. I was saying, you said you didn't have much experience, but your patience in the kitchen is like, I'm watching, I'm like, maybe that's why my food is not as precise. You're so like patient and calm and natural.
I don't have 3 children at home in the kitchen yelling at me and wanting stuff. I mean, alone, but yeah, it's hard when you have little ones running around and you want to get stuff done. And you know, when I was working, I did the same thing, and I might not have, that's why I didn't make these very often, because it does take time and takes a lot of patience. So good for you, Lillian. You're amazing. Take after your mom and your aunt. You have some good Greenspan genes. Is Florence on still too? Is Florence on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, sweetheart.
Hi, Auntie Sharon. Thank you for doing your cooking show. I love it.
It's wonderful. I'm glad you were watching.
I'm here too,
Yeah.
Auntie Sharon. It's Esther.
Esther too.
We're all here.
Yay. I wish I could see you.
This is Diane. Can I
Yeah.
just say hi to my grandchildren who are watching from Milan, Italy, and my daughter Miriam?
Wow.
Hi, you guys. Grandpa's here helping me out.
Oh. Is this your first Zoom? No.
Not mine.
I see Beth Ann. Beth Ann, are you cooking right now? Are you cooking along? Oh, that's great.
Auntie Sharon, there's someone else who wants to say hello to you.
Okay, okay.
Say hi. Oh, he's waving to you, and I have a hint for you. His name starts with a D.
I did. David.
Auntie Sharon, I'm watching TV. Auntie Sharon,
Hi.
fix my other blanket.
Oh, can you fix her other blanket?
It has
Fix
so
your
much
blanket
fun.
again? Oh my gosh. I'll bring some more with me the next time I come.
Oh, I think she thinks we're on a personal FaceTime
Oh.
with you. Hello, everybody.
Oh, Beth Ann was going to say something to me. I'm so happy.
Just thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. And you got me cooking in the kitchen. That's good. All my kids will thank you for it.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
I like to pop these in their lunch too. They're just so easy, you know, to transport.
Yeah, they're great.
And they don't mind eating them cold either.
No, they're good anyway. And I think room temperature would even be good. I don't think they have to be cold.
The recipe my mom used to make, she never used the egg. She would make a well in the meat and add rice and then cover it and let the rice steam. And then she'd mix it in with the rice. So the egg, I'm really curious to see how this tastes.
Yeah, I hope it's good.
Oh, I'm sure it will be. Thank you so much for doing this again.
Yeah, pleasure. You know, Beth Ann, I was cooked along when you made your baklava with Sandy. And I made it, and then I had this whole pan of baklava left, and I ate a lot of it. But I also froze it, and it really froze really well. And then I shared some with my very good friend that I hadn't seen in a long time, and we enjoyed it over some coffee. It was fabulous. I told her the whole story of how I learned how to make baklava because I had never made it before from my very good former babysitters who now have children of their own.
That makes me so happy, Sharon.
Oh gosh.
And your kitchen looks amazing, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Well, you know, it's a very large one-person kitchen, as I say, because it doesn't matter if I'm over here cooking, someone has to get into the drawer that's right in front of me. It's just, I don't know. Thank you. It's nice and big. We redid this kitchen. It's in 2002, so gosh, 18 years ago, crying out loud. So it's almost ready for a refresh, but I'll say it's the biggest, you use it the most, that's for sure. So it helps to have a kitchen that's usable with nice counter space. That's the key thing. I mean, we use our kitchens a lot, right? And we use our ovens. I've heard of horror stories where the ovens get blown out right before the holiday. And I think it's because we use them so much and we use the self-cleaning mode and it burns them out. That happened to me once. Ugh.
I was having problems with my appliances and I was speaking to KitchenAid about them and they were like, well, how frequently are you using this? All the time, obviously. Why else would I own the appliance?
I know some people just like to look at a kitchen. Have you ever watched the show House Hunters? And people want to say, yeah, I want stainless steel appliances and I want this and granite countertops. They don't cook, but they want it to look good. So yeah, this next generation of kids don't cook too much. But luckily, my kids don't fall into that category. My kids cook.
I haven't been watching the clock, but how close are the ones in the oven to being ready to look at?
Oh, Sharona, I'm so glad you mentioned something since I didn't put the timer back on. All right, so they've got about 5 more minutes to go. You can see. I don't know if you can see, but my hand's gonna burn, so let me put this down. Oh, crap. No, you know what I just did? You see my recipe is in a plastic thing. I put the pan right on it, melted it right onto the pan. Oh, jeez.
Oh, no.
I'm not gonna put it back in the oven because it's melted plastic on there. So it's pretty.
Get closer and show what it looks like.
Yeah, you can take it. You don't need to keep it plugged in. Oh. It slid all over. So they'll get more brown, golden brown on here. So this cup didn't turn out very, you see the difference between this and so look at the bottom. See, it's nice and golden. So that's kind of how you want, just a couple more minutes. If it was not melted plastic, I would put it back in the oven.
Sharon,
Yes.
is it intimidating to have a son who's such a great cook?
Oh, well, you know, I used to feel that way, but I said something to him. I said, it makes me nervous to cook for you now. And he said, Mom, your cooking is always the best. Mom's is the best. So don't ever feel like he loves anyone's home cooking. So, I mean, I admit I'm a pretty good cook, but
That's great.
I've learned a lot from him. You know, he's given me some tips, you know, but he cooks, you know, he doesn't cut down on anything. Full fat, full salt, full everything. So like he makes me, I was recuperating from surgery and he would make me scrambled eggs, for instance. And of course they were gourmet because he cooks them in a tablespoon of butter. So that kind of thing. He makes everything delicious. He has magic hands. He does have bendichos manos because everything he makes is amazing. I mean, I taught him how to make barrecas and then he outshines his teacher. They're out of this world.
That means that you're a great teacher. That's the key
Yeah.
to success.
Yeah.
Marcia wanted to know how thick the dough is for your circles.
Oh,
How are you gonna do?
it's not, I don't know how you would measure it. You want it a little, I don't know. It's not paper, it's not super thin because you do want to be able to handle it, but you don't want it. Totally. I don't know how to measure. I'm sorry. I don't know how to answer that. Like you would for a pie, the same as like for a pie. If you've done a pie. Okay, that's ready to go in the oven. Wipe all this grease off my hands. Anyone else have any questions for me? You had some good ones. Nope.
We are approaching the end of our time together. So whatever question anyone was thinking about and holding on to, now's the time to ask it.
Yes, now or never, folks. Well, I hope this was helpful, everybody. If you have any other ideas of things that you want to see made for you, let us know because hopefully this is going to be an ongoing series. we're kind of running out of ideas. So if there's something in particular that you want to see.
Sharon,
Yes, no.
it's Diane, we had a little accident with our dough, so I had to call Peter in for a rescue. And we ended up putting it in a tin, in the muffin tin.
Okay.
And then we just made the flat top like you suggested. We
Okay.
put the sesames on the bottom, hoping that they'll come out okay.
Okay.
And we'll let you know how it goes. But
Okay.
any suggestions for being able to figure out like what to, when your dough is not correct, you just keep putting more flour in?
Well, yeah. You don't want to keep adding flour. Like I do have some oil, just a little bit of oil at the bottom that's kind of coming out. I don't think you can really see.
Okay,
I probably could have used a little bit more flour in mine.
okay.
But you don't want it to get stiff either. So
So
yeah,
you just have to play with it for a while.
yeah, you do. Yeah. And
Does refrigerating it help or warming it or
No.
anything?
no, you don't want it cold because then it's really hard to work with. And it'll seize up like, you know, you don't want it, you want it to be pliable. So you definitely, what have been best is for me to let it rest for a little bit before working with it.
Okay.
Maybe just about 15 minutes, let it rest a little bit. And then you can see if the oil is kind of coming out a little bit by then you could sprinkle a little bit more flour in and work it in. But you also don't want to work your dough too much either. Good for you.
I have to say, you're really fun to cook with.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's been really fun. I love cooking. I guess I said the last time, the kitchen is my favorite place. And when I had a day off from work, that's where I'd be. I'd make our delicacies and put them in the freezer just to have. And I kind of still do that now. So normally I would have had a batch of these ready to go ahead of time, but after Pesach, it was kind of a busy week. So I didn't have time to do it.
Thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to see you all.
All right.
We miss you.
Oh, I miss you too. Come to shul.